Please be seated. Vice Provost Gandhi, members of the Peabody Institute Advisory Board, distinguished guests, faculty, staff, and alumni of the Peabody Institute, and of course, members and families of the graduating class of the Peabody Conservatory. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Peabody Conservatory's 143rd graduation exercises, which are part of the commencement exercises closing the Johns Hopkins University's 149th academic year. I offer my heartiest congratulations to each and every one of our graduates here today. I am delighted to see so many parents and relatives and friends here to celebrate with you, our graduating students. I know that your loved ones have shared in every challenge and every success that you've experienced throughout your time here at Peabody. You could not have achieved that which we celebrate today without their counsel and support. To the families of our graduates, we say thank you. I also want to recognize and thank our outstanding faculty for the critical and guiding role they have played in bringing you, our students, to this point today. We owe you a debt of gratitude for your great commitment to our students. I'm honored now to invite the Executive Vice Provost for Academic Affairs, Stephen Ganji, to the podium to offer a greeting on behalf of the university. Dr. Ganji.
All right, good afternoon. As Fred said, I'm Stephen Ganji, Executive Vice Provost and a professor at the Bloomberg School of Public Health. It's my sincere pleasure to be with you today to congratulate our remarkable graduates of the class of 2025. Friends and family members, please give a rousing round of applause for these extraordinary individuals who have received this significant milestone in their artistic journey. Peabody holds an especially meaningful place in my heart, having been woven into the fabric of my family for decades. I watched my older daughter develop her own musical voice during her formative years here at Peabody, as did my younger daughter, who first picked up the violin here when she was barely tall enough to reach a music stand. And now, after years of study in the UK, she'll be completing her own graduate degree in violin performance, continuing a musical journey that began here nearly 2 decades ago. Standing with you today, I'm reminded of those countless hours I've spent in these halls, not developing any measurable artistry myself, but as a witness to extraordinary growth. I know how deeply you have immersed yourselves in the rigorous, transformative training that defines a Peabody education. Today's celebration marks not only just this culmination of your years of dedication, but also the beginning of your next artistic chapter. Before you step forward in the future, I invite you to pause with me for a moment to reflect upon your journey. First, I want you to remember those initial days when you transitioned from a recent or not so recent undergraduate alumna to a graduate student. The excitement, the nervousness, the determination. Conservatory training at Peabody demands extraordinary commitment. There were likely moments during lessons, master classes, or performances when you questioned whether you could meet the high expectations placed upon you. Here it's valuable to recall what Daniel Coit Gilman, the first president of Johns Hopkins, intended for our students. Certainly at the time of his inaugural address in 1876, neither Peabody nor the world was what it is today, but his words ring true nonetheless. The object of the university is to develop character. It should prepare for the service of society a class of students who will be wise, thoughtful, progressive guides in whatever department or work they thought that they may be engaged. When you were challenged here at Peabody, you reached, you persevered, and you accomplished the difficult tasks, and in some cases, the impossible tasks. And that's as it should be when developing character. That's why people as talented and determined as you work so hard to come to Johns Hopkins in the first place and to strive to attain Gilman's vision. Second, I ask you to acknowledge those who have supported you. No artistic journey is truly solo. You've been part of a community of fellow artists who understand both the struggles and triumphs of creative work. I hope you'll take this time to reach out to these people, whether it's a parent or a partner, a professor or a provost, or just the person who listened to you over a matcha at Doobie's and comforted you, yes, when a performance or an exam didn't meet your high standards. Whoever it is, thank them and tell them what they meant to you during this journey. You are now and forever part of the extended Hopkins family. These relationships may continue to enrich your life in unexpected ways, and you may inspire future artists to join the Peabody community. Lastly, as you look ahead, consider your role as a citizen artist. Our communities need you to create what seems impossible, discover what remains hidden, and reach beyond perceived limitations, both in your art and in your life. Embrace Gilman's vision for being a guide to society. Remember, in the eyes of the world, you are the Peabody Conservatory, and you are the Johns Hopkins University. The average citizen is more likely to meet one of you than one of our esteemed faculty. So represent us well. Your artistry and character will shape how the world perceives this institution. With that, let me close with my congratulations once again. I wish you fulfillment and success in all of your artistic and non-artistic endeavors. Throughout my daughter's journeys, from a 4-year-old's first notes to graduate level mastery, I've witnessed firsthand how the top institutions like Peabody transform promising talent into artistic excellence. Now it's your turn to carry that legacy forward. The world awaits your voice, your vision, and your contributions to elevating the human experience. Make Peabody and Johns Hopkins proud. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure at this time to present this year's Excellence in Teaching Award. The Excellence in Teaching Award was established in 1992 through the generosity of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association as a way in which each of the divisions of the university can annually recognize the extraordinary dedication and accomplishments of at least one of its many fine teachers. May I ask Herbert Greenberg to join us here at the podium? Herbert Greenberg, in your long career as an artist and pedagogue, you have deftly balanced an impressive roster of performance and recording credits with a deep dedication to your studio, enriching the lives of students and audiences immeasurably. Students and colleagues find inspiration in your remarkable performance career, which includes collaborating as soloist with many of the world's leading conductors, performing over 50 concerti from Bach to John Adams, and recording for multiple labels. You were concertmaster of the Aspen Festival Orchestra for 17 seasons and have served as guest concertmaster for the National Arts Orchestra of Canada and the Houston, St. Louis, Oregon, Japan Virtuosi, Prague, and Bergen Philharmonic Orchestras, among many others. You were a member of the Minnesota Orchestra, associate concertmaster of the Pittsburgh Symphony, and for 20 years, concertmaster of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. When the BSO performed in a nationally telecast inaugural concert to open the Joseph Meyerhoff Symphony Hall, you were called upon as a featured soloist for Strauss's Ein Heldenleben. An avid chamber musician, you were a founding member of the Previn Greenberg-Williams Trio and the Baltimore String Quartet, and your collaborators have included Isaac Stern, Pinchas Zuckerman, William Primrose, and Yo-Yo Ma. You play the 1685 Jean Becker Stradivarius and are a custodian of that historic instrument. You take great pride in your association as concertmaster and solo violinist with the Defiant Requiem Foundation, having participated in the first performance of Defiant Requiem in Terezin, the site of the Theresienstadt concentration camp and the events on which the work is based, and served as concertmaster for the soundtrack to the award-winning documentary film. As important as performance has been throughout your career, it is your passion for teaching that has fueled your artistic energies in recent decades. You've taken seriously your commitment to transmitting the great traditions you learned from Joseph Gingold. You have been a highly respected member of the violin faculty at the Peabody Institute since 1988, augmenting your full schedule of conservatory teaching with a commitment to teaching for the Peabody Preparatory and in master classes around the world. The expertise, mentorship, and ongoing support you provide has led many of your students to successful careers in chamber and orchestral music and in academia worldwide. Beyond the studio, you have taught chamber music, coached sectionals, and been a passionate advocate for Peabody orchestras. Your orchestral repertoire class has been a must-take elective for all violin students. Your leadership roles have included string chair, faculty chair, and coordinator of the violin department. Herbert Greenberg, like Strauss's Heldenleben, you have led a hero's life. In recognition of your many gifts and accomplishments, and with our profound gratitude for all that you are and the good that you do, it is our honor to present to you the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association's Excellence in Teaching Award for 2025.
You may think I'm using my phone for artificial intelligence, but I'm not. I actually was scared about doing this, so I went to this chat stuff, you know, GPT chat, whatever you call it, and I said, show me a speech for accepting a teaching award that would be about 5 minutes long. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff comes out, and I look at it, and I say, oh my God, I can't believe this is for real. Nothing but cliches, stupid stuff that we would never want to talk about. And that's the world we're going into? It's not very good. It's like a player piano becoming a Steinway. It's ridiculous. So, this is my second chance at winging this. I hope it works. One of the things I talked about this morning is that I'm infatuated lately with time and numbers and time, and how fleeting time is, and how quickly it goes by. And for many of you, it's 2 years, and that's just like a blur. You were here, and now you're gone. So let's talk about that time business. I did a little thinking and a little math, and for my lifespan, which is 75 years, I divided that into 2025, and you come up with a number. It's 27 point something is what that number is. That number, if you looked on a calendar, would be the 27th of the month. If you just go back 27 days, you're at the birth of Christ. For somebody like me who loves Beethoven and thinks that Beethoven is the greatest genius that was ever on the face of the earth, I only have to go back 3 of my lifetimes. Think of that. You think of your life and you go back just once, twice, 3 times, and I'm at 1800. So we could be drinking together. Because when he composed, he usually, was finished by about 1 o'clock, because he and his buddies were drinking at that time. So just remember Beethoven, because that's going to be the conclusion of my speech. We talked about violin at Peabody, how privileged it is for me to have, I'm going to drop names. It's a who's who in the world of violin. And everyone was a colleague of mine here at Peabody, starting with Burl Sinofsky, who is legendary, won the Queen Elizabeth competition, sat next to my teacher in the Cleveland Orchestra, Mr. Gingold. That was when Mr. Fleischer of Peabody fame recorded the incomparable set of Beethoven concertos with George Zell and the Cleveland Orchestra. Burl Sinofsky, Sylvia Rosenberg, Shirley Givens, Yang Ku-an, Victor Danchenko, a great friend of mine, Iquan Bey, Martin Beaver of the Tokyo Quartet, Violin Melanson, Pam Frank, Curtis Institute, Suvin Kim, New England, Midori, soloist, Curtis Institute. And our present violin faculty includes Ken Young Tsang, Judith Ingelson, Vadim Glusman, and someone special for me, Li Qing, because she was my student, and she was sitting out here just like you guys on our faculty. So we've had quite a history of violin, and it is a who's who. So getting back to some numbers, you know, I love taking the stairs. My students know that. They try to keep up with me on the stairs. So I come into Peabody very happy every day. I park my car on the first floor, walk up 15 steps, go through the door. It's 112 to the 4th floor. I do that every day. You know, if you do it like a few minutes before 9 or a few minutes before 10, you see everybody rushing because they're going to be late to class. And I get a kick out of that as people are just, you know, running up the stairs. And they're much faster than the people that take the elevator, because the elevator is crowded and you feel hot, and it takes forever to get to the 4th floor. Some of these numbers, by the way, there's 77 steps from the faculty lounge up to the 200 area where we have our orchestra rep class. Now, just a few numbers. I figured that I had 630 students, not, let's say 630 people registered over the course of my time at Peabody. Probably about 20,200 lessons. There have been over 700 people in the violin orchestra rep class. And it's really a special class because we've got a good part of the globe covered. These aren't just my students, they're students of all the violin faculty. And we have students all through Europe, Israel Philharmonic. We've got the United States covered. We've got a good portion of Asia covered. And these are kids just like you that are all working in these fabulous places, doing these great things. You know, as a teacher, there's nothing more rewarding than going to a city. Recently, I was in San Francisco, and we have four Peabody kids in my studio are in that orchestra. And so, you know, I happily go on a plane and get off and go to their chamber music concert and listen to them. There's nothing greater. There's nothing on earth greater when your teacher comes and listens to you play. Nothing can compare. And so that's just a benefit of teaching at a great place like Peabody. I wanted to thank everyone, Vice Provost Ganji and the usual, you know, the administration, everyone on the administration, the staff, the faculty, the students. I also wanted to thank my studio assistant, who's sitting out there, Fang Ming Shen. Without her, I could do nothing. She's going to be wearing a bumblebee costume for the next graduation. And my wife, Mary, who has put up with me for 54 years. That's not easy. That's not easy to do, but so I had that. I saved Dean Bronstein because I think it's time that one of us speaks about Dean Bronstein. We would not be here in this space for the last day, by the way. We would not be here if it were not for him. Because, don't blush. He doesn't blush. He has really transformed Peabody with the help of Johns Hopkins. His leadership has been incredible. And I often wonder where we would be if we didn't have him. So I think it's time that we all give a special applause to our dean. So listen, I'll just conclude with this. I did this earlier today. I shouted out some numbers, and I would love to hear, not so much with Dean Matthews, but from students, what I'm talking about. Okay, here come the numbers. 127, 130, 131. Somebody said something? 132. 133. Thank you. And these are not just Beethoven quartets. These are the late Beethoven quartets. And I can talk about it, and I could share some of this with you, because this is the real nitty-gritty, this stuff. You know, Mr. Fleischer's thing all the time, you know, with music, you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can feel it. Aha, with the last Beethoven quartets, you're in another realm, you're in another world, totally. So I don't know how many people I can influence to try it out. Now, I'm going to say that I listen to singers. I love listening to pianists. I have worn out the record with the Cleveland Orchestra, Philadelphia Orchestra, and Chicago Brass. So I listen to other things and enjoy other things. But I urge you to check out the late Beethoven quartets, because that's a world that goes way beyond the one we live in now. That's a special place. And if you give in and listen to some genius, couldn't hear anything, you're really on to the whole spirit of life and what life is all about. So thank you very much, and I'm honored by this award, and you guys are going to carry on for us. So.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our student speaker, Eduardo Javier Fajardo Rivera.
Good afternoon. My name is Eduardo Fajardo. I love to sing, eat good food, freak out about life, and dream of better days. It is an honor to stand before you on this special day that marks a new chapter for all of us. 8 years ago, I played the trumpet, and I was so bad at it. I once dreamed of playing in a mariachi band for my mom, but I hated playing hot cross buns and those like mouthpiece exercises that we do. It was just not fun. And there I was, holding an instrument I did not love, in a 15-person band and playing out-of-tune concerts. Despite that, my mom, who worked multiple jobs and raised 4 crazy Latino kids, always made that effort to either come to these concerts or comically debrief with her afterwards. This made me realize that having someone who just believed in me was important. I'm so glad that at that point in my life, it was my mom who would eventually drive me across the East Coast to chase a career we didn't understand. That would be the person who believed in me. Here at Peabody, it is our teachers, our peers, friends, and the Peabody staff and faculty who care and believe in us. At 16, I ended up finding the flute, and it was the one place where I could feel free, away from the weight of life. I remember trying to play the Mozart Flute Concerto in G major 2 months in, and it was really bad, but it was so thrilling, I fell in love. From that point, it was as if God was telling me to keep moving forward. Life gave me a teacher that guided me pro bono in high school, a student Gemeinhardt flute from my old band director, an acceptance letter into George Mason University, where I would receive my Bachelor of Music degree, and now, despite all odds, a Master of Music degree from Peabody Conservatory, where I got to study with my idol, Marina Piccinini, and along the way, made inspiring and kind friends to last a lifetime. At Peabody, I learned that there's still a very long road ahead of us. I still need to work on my scales, long tones, email writing, resume writing, intonation, the list goes on. But we all know that now, with our education here, we have what it takes to succeed in this industry through passion and good standards for art making. I do not know what you might have endured in order to be here today. But whatever life has looked like, remember that at the end of the day, we are here in this room together. Together, we are entering a new chapter of our lives. I share a bit of my story to urge you to keep pushing forward and remember that people believe in you even when you don't. When life as a creative feels heavy, remember that you have something very special to offer. And when we leave this room today, it is only the beginning, but we now have the credentials to prove it. Congratulations, class of 2025.
Thank you, Eduardo. Wonderful comments, and thanks for everything you've contributed in your time here as a student. So class of 2025, I will have some thoughts a little bit later that I want to share with you. But first, Peabody is, as always, about performance. And last evening, we continued a graduation tradition of staging a special concert featuring many of our outstanding graduates. And we're going to continue this afternoon in that spirit of celebrating performance and honoring our graduates by inviting members of your graduating class to perform at this ceremony. So before I bring on this performer, I would just share one anecdote that he came to us as a 15-year-old, actually coming as an undergraduate, and Manuel Barreco came to me and said, can he come into the school? And he's too young. And Manuel was absolutely, he was so committed to bringing this young man here. And I think you'll see why. So please welcome Junhong Kwang to perform Sevilla by Isaac Albanese. So that's why we do what we do here. I'm going to invite our Peabody Medal recipient to come to the podium and join me now. Rakim. So I'd like to read this citation. Rakim, you are a foundational figure in the history of hip-hop, one of the most influential and skilled MCs of all time. Few artists have had as great an impact on the development and progression of the art form's lyrical style as you have. Now referenced as one of the masters of the microphone, you first exploded onto the scene with the release of the iconic Eric B. as President in 1986 with longtime collaborator Eric B. The single marked a turning point in the rap world, raising the bar for future MCs and revolutionizing the way rhymes are delivered to this day. Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., Nas, Eminem, and Jay-Z have all cited you as a prime influence. Your intricately intellectual lyrics draw their force from your worldly experience, inner faith, and progressive contemplation, your liquid delivery fueled by a deep understanding of not just hip-hop, but also the jazz and R&B influences that have always surrounded you. You're the inventor of flow, building your rhymes on complicated patterns, ignoring bar lines, and earning comparisons to the likes of John Coltrane and Thelonious Monk. Your recordings, including the all-time classics Paid in Full, Follow the Leader, and The 18th Letter, have sold in the multi-millions worldwide. Billboard, Rolling Stone, MTV, and others consistently refer to Paid in Full as the greatest hip-hop album of all time, a claim that is often confirmed in audience polls. You've been recruited to add your stardom and talents to projects for Alicia Keys, Dr. Dre, Linkin Park, Mobb Deep, Jody Watley, Limp Bizkit, and Truth Hurts, among many others. Your uncanny innovation was the focal point of the critically acclaimed recreation of Bob Marley's Concrete Jungle and has helped propel movie soundtracks such as Juice, Brown Sugar, The Rugrats, American Psycho, and 8 Mile to bestseller status. World-famous brands such as the Coca-Cola Company, LVMH, Nike, Adobe, Ford Motor Company, Major League Baseball, and the NBA have chosen you as spokesperson. You not only continue to record and tour, releasing your latest album just last year, but also work with young artists signed to your own Raw Records. You've been named the #1 lyricist of all time by The Source magazine, receiving the coveted BET Lifetime Achievement Award, and been nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rakim, no serious discussion of hip-hop's greatest performers is held without a deferential accounting of your achievements, and you continue to lead where others follow. In recognition of all you have achieved, and in anticipation of all you have yet to do, I am proud to bestow on you today the highest honor conferred by the Peabody Institute of the Johns Hopkins University, the George Peabody Medal for Outstanding Contributions to Music and Dance in America.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, first off, let me start off by saying congratulations to 2025. Good luck and stay focused out there. The world is yours, all right? It's not much for me to say after he just said everything. Thank you, Dr. Bronstein. Word up. I fell in love with music, man, since I was a kid. There was always good music in my household. My mother and father loved music. And I just remember, you know, it was like one of my brothers and sisters. It was always there. My love for music is what allowed me to become a good MC. The more I fell in love with music, the more I learned not only about music, but about life as well. Coming up in my house, the music kind of taught us lessons. You know what I mean? You can hear a good song and it'll give you direction, it'll give you guidance, it'll give you inspiration. And I just remember being young and looking around and seeing the faces as music was being played at the house. I'll look around and see how everybody was enjoying it. And then, there was always that one face that let you know what you was missing. You know what I mean? The vibrations that music gives off, at that young age, I didn't really understand, but I just knew that what was going on around me while it was being played was magic. Me being an MC, I remembered everything that I heard when I was young, listening to the music and kind of, taking it, through my own journey. One of the things that stuck to me, there was always, Kool and the Gang in the house. There was Gladys Knight and the Pips. There was Jackson 5, just good music. But one of the things that I remember so much was whenever my mother and father played jazz, it hit different. I remember sitting there, again, I was young, but I remember sitting there, trying to figure out what was so different about the jazz and the other music they was playing. So I would sit there and try to, figure it out. And I remember the first thing I remember was the time and difference in jazz music. Hip hop, R&B, a lot of it is 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's easy when it comes to jazz. What I was hearing in jazz music was a lot different, a lot more intricate, a lot more technical. I would start trying to figure out the timing of jazz at a young age. So I would sit there and listen. I would look around and see how they was tapping their feet. And I would listen to see where the melody came back around. And that would help me learn how to count jazz music. So I remember sitting there and every time a jazz record come on, I just start counting. 1, 2, 3. And I'm looking around to see if everybody's going to go back to the 1 so I know where the 1 is. Well, doing that for a long time gave me a profound understanding of time and space. So when I started writing rhymes, subconsciously, these rhythms was in my head. And I remember, analyzing it and saying to myself, well, this is a little different than what everybody else is doing. My cadence and my rhythms was a lot different. And I just remember this is not what everybody's doing, but I feel it's something that could be done, you know what I mean? So understanding time and space allowed me to put more rhythms and more styles in my rhyme. Listening to jazz, I had a whole spectrum of what I felt time and space was. And again, to me, hip hop was easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. I remember hearing some records. There was this one record that I heard, it was called Take 5. And I used to be like, what, Take 5? Why would they call it Take 5? That's like taking a break, you know what I mean? But as I listened, I realized why they called it Take 5. Because it was 5 beats in 8 bars of music. So they called it Take 5. Like hip hop is 4/4. This Take 5 was 5 and 8. So listening to this different music gave me, again, a profound understanding of time and space. So immediately I started incorporating this in my rhymes. And in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. It was second nature to me at that point, because these rhythms was embedded in my head. So I would start writing rhymes a lot different, like I said, than I heard other people writing. But I knew I had something. So I would write my rhymes, I would say them, and then people started responding a little different. So that's when I knew I had something. So I would get deeper with it, you know. Every time I would hear jazz from that point on, I would listen even harder to understand the theory of music. It got to the point where I understood that music was more than just listening. I started researching everything I could about sound. So I took it back to the beginning, the Big Bang, right? That's the first recording of sound that we know and understand, the Big Bang. What is the Big Bang? I said, well, it gotta be sound, it's a bang. That's all I needed to know. I took that and ran with it. It made me feel like I was doing something important, if that makes sense. So I started studying as much as I could, studying. And I said, if I can make music and it resonates with people in a certain way as it's supposed to. I said, but if I can do that, then I'm doing something right. Because sound was made, you know, it has a lot of purposes, you know. Some use it to heal, you know what I mean? Some just might use it for good listening. You know, you might want to clean up the house, you might put some music on, it might assist you in that. But sound and music is a healing property. So, you know, I'm just a rapper though, so I'm thinking, how could I incorporate this in what I do? You start hearing how people basically found out that music and mathematics go hand in hand. So again, I got deeper. And I came up with something that I know a lot of y'all understand, and I'm gonna speak on it and move on. But it's this thing I came across, and it was explaining sound to me. And it told me that 432 hertz dealt with everything in life that was important. Mostly everything in life that has life. It deals with a formula, which is sound. I got a little deeper. I realized that we resonated a pitch as well. So now music is starting to make sense to me. Now I know why people feel like they feel when they hear it. Or I know why I feel like I feel when I hear it. The vibration of it, it helps us vibrate even more. So I started getting deeper into it. 432 hertz, what is this? Again, I found out that everything that deals with sound deals with this formula. Until one day somebody came along and changed the formula to 440. It changed our instrument sound to 440. If you go back to the Tibetans and the Greeks and the Egyptians, and you dig up their instruments out the dirt, they tune to 432. Okay, so I'm a rapper, so how could I add this on to rap? Well, the thing is, I couldn't really do it because, you know, rap is, you know, for me it's rhythm and words. The music, a lot of the music is not melodic enough for me to make this happen and you enjoy it like you're supposed to. But these people right here, these young musicians, they got a chance to change things. Y'all can go out and let the people know that 440 was good, but 432 resonates with people much better. So the music that we hear, it'll hit different. You know what I mean? It'll soothe us, it'll even heal us. So I say, by me understanding just the theory of music and sound. It made me a better rapper. It made me understand sound more. It made me understand that vibrations affect people. So I tried to incorporate as much as I could. But at the end of the day, me being a person to bring it to the table, hopefully, you know, one of the graduates that's here today could take it and run with it. You know what I mean? One thing we gotta do is we gotta tell the people that's making the instruments to convert it back to 432. And another thing we gotta do is continue to push the envelope, make good music, make people feel good, and keep this thing alive. Now, this last thing that I want to say is for the graduates. I know you're going out into the world. You know, things may seem hard, a lot of pressure on you. People are pushing you to be great. You're pushing yourself to be great, pushing yourself to have perfection. You know, people tell us we can't be perfect. I disagree with that because there was one day when everybody in this room was perfect. And that's when we was trying to be conceived to be who we are today. A lot of times people say, yo, you can't do it, it's too hard. You can't be that, it's too much. It's too many people, you're not fast enough. Well, it's good when people tell us that, because we need that. We need people to tell us we can. Because that's one of the things that I use for myself. When somebody told me I couldn't do it, okay, it's work time. Now, you know, I can prove people wrong, and you know, I use that as fuel. But to inspire yourselves and take advantage of who you are, remember, you was perfect on the day when you reached that egg. Remember that? A lot of us don't, right? But you was perfect that day. Out of everything, you know, you had people that was, you know, trying to beat you to the same place you was going to. Something that today we would say is too hard to do. But then, you know, we didn't care. All we wanted to do was get to that egg. And it seems like we did it, right? Well, it's the same thing. You still racing to that egg, and you still got 250 million people that's racing you. But don't think that it's too hard, that you can't do it, like, I can't be perfect. You was perfect then, it's in you, all right? But just remember that we was once perfect, and we can be perfect again. That egg is still out there waiting for y'all. Thing is, before you had nothing to get it. Barely a physical form, you had no legs, you had no arms, you had no support system, you had no people, but now you got all of that. So what's the excuse now? And the best thing about this is you got your parents that already showed you what to do, how to do it. You got your teachers up here and your professors up here that showed you what to do, pointed you in the right direction. So now, when we go get the egg, we know what we're doing, all right? So go get that egg, man. Go get that egg. Congratulations. Perfection is just a goal. John Hopkins, thank you. Dean, thank you so much. I'm honored for this Peabody Award, and again, man, I appreciate the love, and y'all keep doing what you're supposed to do. Peace and love.
Good afternoon. I'm Stacy Cooper Patterson, Senior Director of Student Affairs, and it is my pleasure to present the recipients of the Graduate Performance Diploma, the degree of Master of Arts, the degree of Master of Music, and the degree of the Doctor of Musical Arts to the Dean of the Peabody Institute, Dr. Fred Bronstein. The audience is requested to refrain from applauding until after the last diploma in each category has been awarded. Would the recipients of the Graduate Performance Diploma please rise? Dean Bronstein, I have the honor of presenting to you the recipients of the Graduate Performance Diploma. Logan Maxim Jagil. Jihoon Bak. Ji-Young Yoon. Gwyneth Taylor Aguilar. Sorry, Tommy Dupuis. David Lacuyer. Amir Kadamani Gonzalez. Josephine Kim. Lindsay Catherine McKenna. Kylie May Kamikawa. Booyoung Park. Jacob Plaisted. Zoe Spangler. Would the recipients of the degree of Master of Arts please rise? Dean Bronstein, I have the honor of presenting to you the recipients of the degree of Master of Arts. Carol Henry Armfield. Song Gao. Sunachi Wang. Abigail Kohler. Zichie Lee. Zivi Samuel Osher. Elizabeth Madison Toonstra. Matthew Warren. Chiwei Zheng. Yihui Zhu. Would the recipients of the degree of Master of Music please rise? Dean Bronstein, I have the honor of presenting to you the recipients of the degree of Master of Music. Matthew Rygelski. Quinlan Armstrong Berry. Shilin Deng. Daniel John Hagenbu. Francesca Greenwood Hellerman. Junlin Lee. Lin Heng. Noah Parody. Antonio Sanz Esquian. Zishan Wu. Jonah Askew. Tempest Carabello Baum. Hamish Edward Robb. Yiting Wong. Linus Chung Ho Ip. Claire Bryn Lewis. Lindsay Donut. Sun Woo Kim. Elisa Trebot. Hannah Wilson Smith. John Allen Lorig. Matthew Drake Ober. Eduardo Javier Fajardo. David Alexander Manzanares Salguero. Gregorius Ambrosius Martinus Valkenburg. Mihu Wang. Andrew Kreitner. Spencer Allen Merck. Marcel Bryce Penzis. Emerson Borg. Kuning Huang. Sichi Tong. Bryn Elise Elliott. Eric Joseph Moberg. Christian Anthony Kang Cuesta. Bethany Rose Dame. Nathan Christopher Ringkamp. Matthew B. Invinger. Jacob Klein. Nupur Tucker. Kenneth Wensi Ong. Jui Chen. Keen Hong Chu. Dajung Kim. Jonah Ryan Lim Jin Kwak. Jiaming Liang. Sun Woo Shin. Myun Song. Kwan Hao Song. Taylor Wong. Zhui Zhu. Hanchi Chao. Giwei Shu. Lanshin Zhu. Jiwon Han. Zai Li. Cindy Tingyu Lu. Jalin Wu. Yulin Sheng. Sean Manley. Bailey Liao. David Sayers. Liam David Staines. Shanshin Ching. Daria Dudanova. Kenneth Ray Fuji Jr. Yuchen Hong. Wenderima Yoon. Yongsu Chen. Yushuan Feng. Manuel Mendez. Shihan Wu. Yu Xia. Yunju Li. Liang Yu Yao. Ruyang Shi. Eden Marie Bartholomew. Shihao Chen. Luana Colon. Hannah Davis. Jade Celeste Etienne. Junyi Hu. Yung Huang. Shinyoung Kim. Sophia Lane Lowe. Marissa Elizabeth Perry. Dionysios Poulakos. Joseph Peter Richwine. Sophia Carmela Sorrentino. Natalie Jane Turner. Aubrey Marin Cole. Victoria Monique Delgado. David Christopher Helmer. Troy Stephen Koger. Eber Krikorian. Ruha Sihyun Lee. Maria Catherine Leonardi. Valerie Christina Miles. Ashley Elizabeth Schumacher. Abigail Marie Sherman. Kaylee Sprouse. Caroline Sykes. Shelby Rose Tippling. Samuel Junho Kai. Jonathan Villegas. And last but not least, would the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts please rise? Dean Bronstein, I have the honor of presenting to you the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts. Patrick Michael Quinn. Zachary James Fick Cambria. Adam David Odell. Ryo Hasegawa. Allison Marie Canny. Midori Okoa Atuha. Na-Rae Lee. Shusong Lim. Jenny Jiang. Dylan Dean Parker. Holly Elizabeth Nelson. Evangelina Chobanu. Celine Mogilnecki. And Samuel Mark Brumel, who is also receiving the Master of Music in Music Theory Pedagogy.
So here we are. Let me begin with first of all, congratulations again to all of our graduates. You're phenomenal. So just a bit of housekeeping also. I want to invite all of our graduates and their families here to please join us for a reception in the dining hall. Unfortunately, the weather didn't hold up. We would have been out in the courtyard, but following, of course, the conclusion of today's ceremony. And I of course, want to welcome all of you again. It is always so good to see not just our graduates, but the very proud families, on this very special and very happy day. Yeah. And it is a happy day. At the same time, it's a serious moment. So I want to begin with a quote that is relevant as you launch into the next phase of your careers at this important milestone. To quote business guru Peter Drucker, who said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And wow, are you all going out into the world at an interesting time to create those futures and to build careers. We all know, that the life of an artist is and has always been both exhilarating and challenging. So the question becomes, how do you build the path for yourself, and how will you make a life with your art and make it relevant to people? How will you connect? So in your time here at Peabody, you've developed skills to answer those questions. Now, how do you apply them in an evolving world, and to what end? And I want to ask you to think about this today. Arts are more than great craft, intuitive beauty, or even a profound statement of expression. Arts are about freedom of expression. But you then may ask, how can that be, as great arts have existed in societies that were not free? So I'll come back to that in a moment. But let's suppose that great art requires a free voice, or at the very least, benefits from it. At their most basic, arts are uniquely human and express the human condition, and that requires transparency, authenticity, and an ability to speak truth to power. As Plato said, poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. So if arts require a free voice, do arts thrive in a democracy as a vehicle for change? We've seen arts often at the forefront of protest movements. Folk music, in particular, has a very rich history of that here in the United States. And the flip question is, if the arts weren't imbued with such power, why would anti-democratic movements or society censor them? Because they involve ideas, and ideas can be threatening, especially within a context of fear. And there's plenty of evidence of that in just the last 100 years. In Nazi Germany, specific art movements like Expressionism and Impressionism and others were thought to be degenerate art. Of course, the targeting of Jewish artists was monolithic as well as deadly. In circa 1930s Soviet Union, socialist realism, as it was called in the arts, was the acceptable mode in the celebration of the state. Other styles were considered unacceptably bourgeois. And it was all closely monitored, and artists paid with their careers, and sometimes worse, for deviating from what was sanctioned as proper artistic expression. Or they carefully cloaked their true intentions within their creations for people to experience in a kind of language of code. And during China's Cultural Revolution, traditional art forms were shunned with the banning of what was called the Four Olds, which targeted customs, culture, habits, and ideas. And again, failure to adhere to the government's line often had serious consequences. It's in this context that we consider that earlier this year, the overnight purge of this country's national symbol for the arts, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, resulted in the immediate dismissal of its board and executive leadership after more than a decade of stewardship. Following closely on the heels of this institutional upheaval came the overturning of programming, including artists that canceled themselves out of protest and artists whose shows were canceled, largely targeting programs emphasizing diversity of performance and art forms, implying that these were not legitimate or part of our national story. Further changes at the National Endowment for the Arts have pulled the funding rug out from under independent artists and arts organizations of all sizes across the country. Now, I want to be clear that I am not suggesting that these changes at the Kennedy Center and the NEA are the equivalent of the historical examples cited. And in fact, it is within the purview of a sitting administration to make changes. But I do think events have raised important questions for artists and artistic organizations today. Questions that some of you have grappled with in your time here at Peabody, but that may require reconsideration in today's environment. Does the responsibility of the artist go beyond making something beautiful or meaningful? And what does that mean for the artist? We know we must not take freedom of expression for granted in the arts world. There needs to be continued advocacy and a commitment to stand strong for the independence of artists. It is every bit as essential as the First Amendment's guarantee of freedom of speech that we hold so dear in this country. Indeed, it is a matter of artistic freedom of speech. I have long advocated for artists to be flexible and adaptable, and circumstances today dictate we need that from artists more than ever as we find new ways to make our voices heard. And that means that you cannot just depend on your craft, but on so many other skills that surround that craft. More than ever, you have to be a proponent not just of your art, but of ideas and your own independent voice. And you must be able to convincingly prosecute your ideas. And irrespective of this moment in which we find ourselves, remember that your career is not something done to you. You have agency. It is, as Peter Drucker noted, that the best way to predict the future is to create it. It's now up to you as both artists and advocates to create your future and the future of our field, and in that journey to renew the diversity, energy, and the freedom of the arts in the world. It's a lot on your shoulders, but we chose this field because it is a calling. And with your Peabody training, you are ready for it. We are counting on you, we believe in you, and we will continue to be here to support you in the important work ahead. So tomorrow, you begin down that path. But today is still a day for celebration. So here's to all of you and everything you have already achieved in getting to this point. I offer my warmest congratulations to this great, great class of 2025.
Thank you.